Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor. Wanted to let you know before I get going, a link to who is my sponsor. That's linqto.com. They're doing a discount on Uphold Private Equity today. I am an Uphold Private Equity holder myself, so go check it out if it's something that interests you. Now, I know that this crypto bit lord is a tweaker. He loves to tweak. He knows the things that he can put out there that are that will tweak the XRP army and get them to retweet and share his stuff, and he does that. But I do agree with this. I think XRP is undervalued. This reminds me of when it was at 4 cents just before the $3 run. All these shakeouts are designed to get our coins. $27 is realistic. Stand strong, XRP army. I don't think he gives a rat's behind about the XRP army, but that's okay. It's a positive tweet that I like. Elon Musk, I like this one too. Department of Government Efficiency. Just happens to spell Doge. And he put a great thing that looks like he got AI to create a picture of him looking like Terminator. All right, this is what's his name? Robert Kiyosaki. He's the guy that wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Interesting clip.
I mean, do you have any feeling as to when the timing, when it could hit, Robert? I mean, you saw what happened the first week of August, right? We had a crash, and then everything kind of went away in the span of 48 hours or less than 48 hours. I mean, was that just a prelude of things to come? I mean, what's gonna bring down the system?
Well, again, what Records is saying here is really accurate. You know, he says you can't see it. That's the problem. And the biggest markets in the world are the bond markets. And you've ask any financial planner, oh, should I buy bonds? Yes, they're safe. And the whole thing is coming down because it's all corrupt. And so that's why for all these years, it's gold and silver. I own gold mines, silver mines, all that stuff.
Robert, it could happen overnight, is what you're saying.
It's happening.
It's happening.
The crash has already started. As Records said, we entered a depression in 2008. And that, again, you know, he's a smart boy. Definition of a depression is subprime growth. So America and the world has not grown. You know, like he talks about here, how Credit Suisse went bankrupt. Nobody says anything.
Man, does he have enough tabs on that book?
So-called the safest bank in the world, Credit Suisse, is bankrupt. But we can't see it. And so what's happening is that it keeps crashing, but we can't see it. And that's why all these years is gold, silver, I add Bitcoin to it. I'm a big silver bull, as you know. I own silver mines. I started
even got the miner's hat.
In Utah, the richest gold mine in America today. So,
okay, you get the point. Here's Brad Garlinghouse talking about the stable coin.
And you're coming here with sort of good news, I guess, for people who have been following what you do. You could be launching your stable coin a bit faster than most people thought.
Well, we've always been kind of consistent that we're going to do everything we can to launch this year. Everything Ripple does is in conjunction with regulatory approval, licensing, and so a key issue that we will continue to make sure we are partnered with U.S. regulators before we go live with the stablecoin. We'll first issue it, we expect, in the U.S., but we think there's opportunity for stablecoins globally. And certainly Japan, as you, I think, probably know, they approved some legislation a year ago that came into effect this year. And so there's a process underway now to do stablecoins here in Japan as well.
Yeah, I want to talk about that. But when we're talking about the U.S., we're talking about a matter of weeks for this launch.
Yeah, our expectation has been to move as quickly as we can. Some people, I think, thought that might be the very end of the year. We won't know for sure until regulators say, yes, we have the green light. But we're optimistic. we acquired a company called Standard Custody, which had a New York DFS trust license. And there's a process you go through to kind of transfer that and how it's going to be used. We've had a great partnership with the New York DFS, Department of Financial Services, through a BIT license we've had for many years. And we'll continue to partner with them and work through that with them before we go live.
Tell us a little bit about the use case. How does this really differentiate from your token itself? Because that's also been talked about, the payment system, right?
Right. We've always used XRP, the digital asset that's kind of native to our technology stack. We've used that as a bridge asset to transfer money across borders. What we have found is that stablecoins, particularly US dollar stablecoins, has gone from a pretty small market to today it's about $170 billion worldwide. And people think that may end up being 2 to 3 trillion in about 5 years. Given Ripple's place in the payments infrastructure, as well as a trusted brand partnering with financial institutions and regulators, we felt like there's an opportunity to enter the stablecoin market as that market continues to grow. We already have used stablecoins in our payment flows for certain corridors, depending upon whether you're going to the Australian dollar or the Philippine peso. Certain corridors, it's more efficient to use a stablecoin at times. So we always use what's best for the customer, and we decided to go live and build our own stablecoin, and excited to get live with that this year.
Thinking of building a stablecoin here in Japan, I mean, you said that the regulations here were clearer, but at the same time, is more of a conservative market, no?
You know, I think Japan has been a more conservative market in some ways, but I actually think that in some ways is also really healthy. Japan, more so than some countries around the world, leaned in early to provide regulatory clarity and passed legislation, both about stablecoins, but even further back, I think in 2017 or 2018, the FSA here in Japan issued clarity and a kind of a taxonomy, a framework for how different cryptos would be regulated. And that has really allowed, I think, entrepreneurship and investment to thrive here in Japan. Now, as compared to the United States, which has really been behind, certainly Japan and the UK and behind Switzerland, so a lot of countries are leading, and Japan has been in many ways one. That's not to say they haven't been conservative about the regulation, but I think that can be really healthy. As long as there's clear rules of the road, entrepreneurs will work within them.
So if you're imagining a stablecoin in Japan, what's the time frame?
Well, I think right now, Ripple in particular is focused on let's get live with the US dollar stablecoin. Okay. But I think people will want to hold yen stablecoins, and I think that's only a matter of time. And I think the regulators here in Japan, again, about a year ago, passed some legislation around that, and there's some companies going through the licensing process right now to get.
I have bought 2 XRP dips this weekend myself. Extremely bullish. Headed to Zurich, this is Jack McDonald, formerly of Polysun. Headed to Zurich next week for Ripple's annual Ubri Connect. Very excited to close out day 1 of the conference, giving fireside chat on Real USD and my POV on stablecoin market. Honored to speak alongside the brightest minds. Check this out. This is an older Ripple clip. I forget the guy's name, but it's worth hearing.
And I think, so to give you some context, in 2016, what we did was we piloted with 12 banks. We said, hey, these 12 banks were based across regions throughout the globe, and they did not have pre-funded relationships with each other. What we did was we gave these 12 banks some XRP and asked them to settle within themselves. And it worked beautifully. But then they came back and said, you know what, this works beautifully, and we would love to adopt it, but we cannot. And precisely the exact reason that you mentioned about Basel III capital requirements, regulatory uncertainty, and so on. So they said that A, it's volatile, B, there are no set of regulations, so we cannot hold those assets in our books. So we actually went back to the drawing board and said, okay, look, how do we change this? Which is why we came up with this product called XRapid. And again, I absolutely agree with Lisa, so we actually piloted, instead of piloting with big banks, we piloted with the big payment providers because they were more willing to do this. And you know what? This actually now works because they don't have to hold the digital asset on their books, but using the piece of software, XRapid, they can actually connect to a digital asset exchange, convert fiat to XRP real time, and then XRP to fiat in real time in the other leg. And the entire transaction happens in 3 seconds. And so there is no case of volatility risk as well. And I think, to your point, just one more point. For any adoption of any technology, I think the intersection of 3 points is really, really important. Financial services, technology, and regulations. I think since the time Bitcoin was implemented, there was this notion that down with banks, down with central banks, Bitcoin was replaced fiat currency. Clearly that has not happened. And I think what's important really is, and that's something that Ripple has taken into its approach by collaborating with regulators and central banks across the world.
I think that's essential.
Interesting clip. Here's two interesting clips from Metal Lawman. Here's why he believes Deaton will shock the world November 5th.
We don't know who's going to be the next president, but we do know we need good people in Congress who are sensible, who have common sense. And so the people of Massachusetts everywhere have common sense. It is simply common sense to say we need a secure border. You know, everybody gets that. We need a secure border. Immigration is good. Immigration made this country great. My mother immigrated here when she was 19 years old, you know, and here I am. You know, it's good when we're controlling it and determining who comes in. You know, it's been great for this country. This country would never have realized all of the great things we've done for the world and our innovation and all of that without immigration of great people into our country. But uncontrolled immigration means you really don't have a country. And the other common sense thing is people get it. Why prices are out of control. It's because the government's out of control, spending money they don't have. It's simple. It's common sense. And so that's why, despite all the polls and all of the pundits, I think John's going to win because people are sensible and understand that what's going on right now cannot continue. It's got to be stopped. And the best person to send in there to stop it is the United States Marine, because he ain't going to give an inch, you know, about what's right for the people of Massachusetts, the people of this country.
Let me tell you what, the more I see, the more I think John is going to shock the world and win. I watched video of Elizabeth Warren this morning, and she's scared. I'm telling you, she's talking about, it's like she's trying to scare all of her Democrat friends into all the power they're about to lose because she can't argue with him over the issues. Here's another good clip from Metal Lawman talking to Brad Combs of Digital Perspectives.
What is really, really freeing about this experience, Brad, is I'm not selling anything. I'm not a proponent of any particular project. I just tell you what I think. And I wanted to come on to social media a couple of years ago. I think your show was the second one I did, because I wanted to be a proponent just for freedom, because I was worried and am worried that we're losing our freedom and that people need to wake up, that if we lose the freedoms that are God-given but guaranteed by the Constitution, then we're going to have a very, very different society. And we won't be able to speak our mind. We won't be able to transact freely. And a lot of these things that you and I have been just so blessed to grow up and start businesses in this country was because of the indispensable element to the American dream is freedom. If we lose freedom, then people don't have that chance anymore to live a life like John Deaton, going from abject poverty, you know, and all of the things that go along with that, the trauma and the violence, to pull himself up, become a United States Marine, become a very, very successful businessman and lawyer. That only can happen as a consequence of real freedom in this country. And that's under attack, in my view, and the attack is not from foreign countries. So when I was growing up, it was the Soviet Union, and we practiced, you know, bomb drills for like, we're going to protect ourselves from a nuclear bomb, you know. It's funny in retrospect, but, you know, now the threats here, you know, internal. There's some people here and elected officials who have some really different ideas about how this country should run and what the rights of citizens should be.
That's so well said, James.
All right. Now, in DAIXRP.com, here's what we're going to talk about. There's an ominous prediction out there about what's coming. And what is the greatest threat to Bitcoin? It's something I didn't know. But this is the greatest threat to Bitcoin, and I had no idea. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, tell your friends and family that away we go.